Let's get right into it. Number 10. Early pressure cookers. The pressure cooker was one of the deadliest things you could own in your kitchen. Back in the 1930s, they were marketed as a miracle of modern cooking. They could cook tough meat in half the time and make beans soft enough to eat in minutes instead of hours. But there was one tiny problem. They had a nasty habit of exploding. The pressure cooker would be doing its thing on the stove. Then a weird whistling sound. The lid would shoot off like a rocket. The early pressure cookers were basically bombs waiting to go off. They had weak seals that could fail without warning. Their safety valves were completely unreliable, and the lids could pop off at any moment. In 1947, a mother was cooking beans when the lid blew off with such force it embedded itself in the kitchen ceiling. She was permanently blinded by the explosion of superheated steam. Her 5-year-old daughter, who was coloring at the kitchen table, suffered third-degree burns. Engineers eventually added multiple safety valves that would release pressure before it got dangerous. They designed locking mechanisms that wouldn't let you open the lid until the pressure was gone. They made the lids interlocking, so if one seal failed, there was a backup. Modern pressure cookers have up to 6 different safety features. Number 9. Soda vending machines. Between 1978 and 1995, vending machines killed 37 people. That's more deaths than from shark attacks during the same period. You were literally more likely to be killed by a Coca-Cola machine than a great white shark. These machines were so top-heavy that giving them a good shake was like playing Russian roulette with an 800-pound metal box. When someone's drink would get stuck, they'd start rocking the machine. Then suddenly, 800 pounds of metal and soda would come crashing down. Most of these accidents happened to young guys between 16 and 25 years old. The companies finally redesigned these death traps in the late 90s. Modern machines now have a lower center of gravity and are usually bolted to the ground. Some machines even have tilt sensors that automatically shut them down if someone tries to shake them. Number 8. Treadmills without safety keys. Imagine you're running on a treadmill back in the 1970s. You trip. The treadmill doesn't have a safety key or emergency stop. As you fall, the belt keeps moving at full speed. It drags you backward, your skin getting torn up by the rough belt surface. You try to get up, but the moving belt makes it impossible. You try to reach for the controls, but they're way up on the console. The belt just keeps going, turning you into human sandpaper. This happened frequently in the early days of home treadmills. The original designs were just a motor, a belt, and some controls. Multiple deaths and countless injuries finally led to the creation of the safety key. That simple plastic clip you attach to your clothes when you run. If you fall, the key pulls out, and the treadmill stops immediately. Modern treadmills now have emergency stop buttons and auto-stop sensors. Some can detect if you're not in the center of the belt and will slow down automatically. Yet people still die on treadmills every year, simply because they don't use the safety key. Number 7. String hammocks. Traditional hammocks were giant nets made of interwoven ropes or strings. Think of it like those rope climbing frames at playgrounds, but stretched out flat. These string hammocks had gaps between the ropes that were just the right size to cause serious problems. People would lie back in these hammocks, shift around to get comfortable, and sometimes their head would slip through one of these gaps. When they tried to sit up or move, the ropes would tighten around their neck like a snare trap. Just like Chinese finger traps, the more someone struggled, the tighter it got. This could happen so fast that by the time someone noticed, it was often too late. After several tragic incidents, manufacturers finally realized they needed to rethink the whole design. The solution was to get rid of the gaps altogether. Modern hammocks are made from solid pieces of fabric, like a floating bedsheet. No gaps means no chance of getting tangled up in a deadly trap. The irony is that these string hammocks were originally designed to be lightweight and portable, but saving a few ounces in camping gear isn't worth risking your life. Number 6. Toy chests. Between 1970 and 1994, toy chests killed 21 children in America alone. These deaths happened when kids were reaching inside for toys, and the heavy lid would fall, crushing their windpipe or breaking their neck. Kids would also climb inside to hide during games, and the lid would trap them, turning their fun hideout into an airtight coffin. These chests were basically wooden guillotines disguised as furniture. They had heavy, unbalanced lids that could snap shut with the force of a bear trap. Some of these lids weighed up to 30 pounds, the equivalent of dropping a cinder block on a child's neck. In 1996, the Consumer Product Safety Commission forced manufacturers to redesign these death boxes. Now, toy chests must have spring-loaded support hinges that prevent the lid from slamming shut. They also need ventilation holes in case a kid climbs inside. and the lid has to stay open on its own at any angle. For decades, these kid-crushing traps sat in bedrooms across America. Number 5. Beanbag chairs. Back in 2014, beanbag chairs were secretly trying to eat children. These things were basically foam-filled death traps. The problem was the zippers. These chairs had 2 of them, and kids could open both and crawl inside, thinking it would make a great hiding spot. Once inside, the foam beads would shift around them like quicksand, and that cozy hiding spot turned into a suffocation chamber. The company, Ace Bayou Corp., somehow didn't predict that curious children would open zippers and crawl into dark spaces. It took 2 deaths, a 13-year-old boy and a 3-year-old girl, before someone decided to child-proof these things. The Consumer Product Safety Commission stepped in and recalled about 2.2 million of these chairs. The fix was simple. They just added permanent metal staples to keep the zippers shut. The difference between life and death was a couple of pieces of metal worth about 2 cents. So next time you're sitting in your beanbag chair, remember someone had to die before they figured out zippers should stay closed. Number 4. Bunk bed guardrails. Bunk beds in the 1970s and early 80s were just 2 beds stacked on top of each other. No rails, no safety features, just a mattress floating 5 feet in the air. Between 1980 and 1985, over 300 children died from bunk bed falls, but manufacturers kept making railless bunk beds because rails would cost an extra $2 per bed to make. By 1987, all new bunk beds had to have guardrails at least 5 inches above the mattress, but the first guardrails had big gaps. Kids would slip through these gaps and get stuck between the wall and the bed. Some suffocated. In 2000, they changed the rules again. Now guardrails have to be continuous on the wall side, with no gaps bigger than 3.5 inches anywhere. Today, bunk bed deaths are rare, but those guardrails exist because companies once decided $2 per bed wasn't worth spending to save children's lives. Number 3. First-generation car airbags. First-generation airbags deployed with enough force to kill a child. These early airbags were controlled explosions in your steering wheel, inflating at around 200 miles per hour. Back in the 1970s, when airbags were first being developed, most people didn't wear seatbelts. Engineers designed these airbags to protect someone who wasn't strapped in at all. The airbag had to catch your entire body weight flying forward at full speed. By the 1990s, when seatbelt use became common, these super-powered airbags were overkill. They were still deploying with enough force to stop an unbelted 180-pound man, even when the person in the seat was a 90-pound woman or a small child. Between 1990 and 2000, over 100 children were killed by airbag deployments in low-speed crashes. In one case, a mother got into a minor crash at just 15 miles per hour. The airbag deployed, killing her infant son instantly, who was in a rear-facing car seat in the front passenger seat. The crash itself barely damaged the car. Modern airbags now have sensors that detect the weight of the person in the seat and adjust deployment force. They can tell if someone is sitting too close to the steering wheel. Some even have multiple stages of deployment for different types of crashes. Number 2. Early elevators. Back in the 1850s, elevators were just platforms attached to ropes. That's it. No safety features, no emergency brakes, just you, a wooden platform, and your prayers. If the rope broke, you would have a very quick meeting with the ground floor. And these ropes broke a lot. Then came Elisha Otis. He invented something revolutionary while working at a bedstead factory: a safety brake. If the rope broke, metal teeth would automatically snap out and catch the elevator, but nobody believed it would work. So in 1854, at the Crystal Palace Exposition in New York, he stood on an elevator platform high above the crowd. Then he had someone cut the rope. The platform dropped a few inches and stopped. The crowd went wild. This changed everything. Elevators weren't just death traps anymore. They became safe enough that people actually wanted to use them. And this led to something even bigger: the modern skyscraper. Before safe elevators, nobody wanted to climb more than 6 flights of stairs. Even the richest people lived on the lower floors. The poor folks lived up top because nobody wanted to climb all those stairs. That's right, penthouses used to be the worst real estate in the building. Number 1. Tipping furniture. A child is sent to the emergency room every 46 minutes because of falling furniture. Between 2014 and 2016, 6 children died from IKEA dressers falling on them. These children were trying to climb their dressers to reach toys when the furniture tipped over. IKEA first tried giving out free wall anchors, but most people don't install them, just like those terms and conditions no one reads. So IKEA had to completely redesign their furniture. They made the base heavier than the top, They added interlocking drawers so you can't pull them all out at once. But furniture tip-overs still kill about 1 kid every 2 weeks in America. Most older furniture is still out there waiting to fall, and many cheaper furniture brands haven't made safety upgrades. They've decided it's cheaper to deal with occasional lawsuits than redesign their whole product line. That $50 saved on cheaper furniture might cost someone their life. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.